Hey, folks, welcome back. We are here with another new episode of Unfinished Business. I am your host, Jeff Galashaw at Unfinished B2. And with me, as always, is my co host, Andre Joseph of AJ Epics Productions.
What a wonderful day.
Okay. It is a wonderful day. As you might notice, I have a different background. I am on the road, and unfortunately I have a cold, so forgive me if I don't have as much energy as I usually do. But we're here to give you the latest news and reviews this episode of all the movie news that is happening, as well as trailers, and eventually some movie reviews. So as we have a lot of news to cover because it's been a while, I know, folks. Let's jump right into the news. Let's start with the easy stuff. The Academy Awards, which is coming up on March 10th, have decided in 2 years for their 98th anniversary, they're going to add casting directing as a category for movies for an Oscar. I have no problem with this. It's a long time coming, but I know stunt people are pissed in a corner. Like, we've been petitioning this for years, and you guys went to casting first? What the F? And Andre, what are you feeling about these news?
I mean, good for the casting directors because, casting is so important with any movie. Wrong actor or actress can, make a movie float or can make it sink. So, we've had some legends, Lynn Stallmaster, Marion Doherty, who've been honored and have since passed on. So it's a nice way to, reflect on those people that are just as important as any crew member on a set. But yeah, I'm with you with the stunt people. They put their asses off every time that they do, not even just an action movie, but any particular movie that requires, even the littlest of stunts, because the actors can't always do it by themselves. So the fact that we don't have that category yet, I think is still criminal when it comes to the Academy of Motion Pictures and Science.
My question for you, do you think they're going to televise it, or do you think it's going to be like one of those technical Oscars they give like the day before?
That's a good question. I think maybe for the first year that they do it, they'll televise it, but then at a certain point, maybe after year 2, year 3, depending on how the ratings are, they may just make it one of those things. We'll just announce it on the website.
I'm wondering if anybody in any other field are like, so now they're going to have to shorten our speeches already, which are already short again, because since they're adding a category, now it's going to be shortened by like 5 to 10 seconds. What the F?
I think one day, don't hold me to this. Maybe the Oscars end up playing on Netflix or Amazon, so you don't have the commercial breaks.
I mean, if you're going to do it as like a live thing, I don't mind, and then just keep it for anybody who wants to see it, who wasn't there for the live view. Like now they do Love is Blind, the reality show that way. But I'm just like, I can see it going because, the ratings aren't what it used to be, but I'm old school, so I still like it being on television for anybody to watch. And so, because then it's like, damn, I got to get a Netflix account just so I can see the Oscars? What the F? But I think if you care about movies that much, you're already watching Netflix. Not that necessarily they always have the best,
Well, a lot of the old school producers and directors will be very pissed when that happens.
Oh, I think they're already pissed about so many things. This is just another new thing to add to the list. So moving on, Ridley Scott is in final negotiations to direct a Bee Gees biofilm. How are you feeling about this?
Well, the Bee Gees do have a very historic story that I think is worth putting on the screen, and Ridley Scott's a very out of the box choice for it. But I think he could probably do okay, and you get the right actors. I don't know, Michael Fassbender playing Barry Gibb. I don't know, but cast it appropriately, and I think people will come because I'm a Bee Gees fan myself, so
no wonder, because I'm just like, didn't you get enough with that long ass documentary about the Bee Gees? Wasn't that enough?
Well, that was sad to see, but it doesn't hurt to see the biopic too. Hear jive talk and staying alive on the big screen.
Yeah, but is that going to be it? Is it going to be like sort of like how Bohemian Rhapsody is, where they're going to overemphasize like the performances and the music and kind of put like, oh yeah, your personal life's all the way over here.
But that's a funny thing too, because I don't recall. I mean, other than the tragedies of Andy Gibb and some of their family members, and maybe the backlash to disco, there really wasn't anything that controversial about them, other than the fact that the two brothers died, at young ages. Barry's the only one left, so it'd be like the musical version of the Iron Claw, if you want to call it that.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much it. That's why I'm like, why make the movie? I mean, it's like, okay, watch the documentary if you want to know all the little interests, like all the little side stories. I'm sure somewhere we're going to have like a love story in there for somebody, that's going to keep the film alive and be like, that defines that character, that love story, rather than any individual achievement. And but I mean, similarly, also now Sam Mendes is going to do a 4-movie Beatles biofilm where each film takes is the story from a band member's point of view. I like that idea, even though it kind of reminds me of the disappearance of Eleanor Rigby. Irony, that is a Beatles song title. But he didn't direct that movie. But, of taking a story and giving it from a different point of view, it gives me some faith in that some studios are willing to take risk. But I think it would have been more interesting if it would have been set up like how these Star Wars films originally were set up, where each film has a different director. So you get a different style, a different way of storytelling, but they're all, joined together. So they know like, okay, you need to have this scene so that it goes with my film that came out first, what I mean? So it's all interconnected and works. Cause you could have Sam Mendes direct one. I don't know, go with a Guardians of the Galaxy type thing where you hire somebody who you think would be the last person to direct like Ringo's story. Like, I don't know, somebody out of left field, like Rob Zombie, hopefully less rape in those movies, or, just something like Bradley Cooper could play that role, but then he'd want to play the lead role. So, or really shock everybody, have Clint Eastwood do Paul. Story. But yeah, I have more faith in that because at least it's experimental and out of the box. I'm sure Peter Jackson wants to shoot what's his name, Sam Mendes right now, because he's like, I'm the king of franchises. I did the Beatles doc, But are you looking forward to this Beatles film? And
I like the concept the way that you described it. And I would even go a step further if you have it where, let's say, the Lennon story is very much about him, it could be very avant-garde and, him trying to like be this humanitarian. You could have Paul's story be more of a love story, him and Linda, and you would be like every romantic drama that we've ever grown up on. And Ringo could be a little bit more psychedelic, and I don't know about George Harrison, but yeah, I think you go with different genres for each Beatle, and then you get a director that kind of corresponds with it. Although I will say there shouldn't be a single American director on them if you were to separate the 4. Yes, have Sam Mendes do one, but then, I don't know, Stephen Frears does another, and you get, can't get Ridley Scott, but, just like, yeah, maybe Steve McQueen does the George Harrison story. I don't know. Just let it be British, just like with James Bond. Like, you don't hire an American director to do a Bond film.
I think Francis Ford Coppola could have done like a John Lennon justice, Hey, he's a
but
dream.
You remember when Zemeckis was going to do Yellow Submarine as an animated movie, and then there was a rights issue. It fell apart.
Mm-hmm. It's just, I don't think that. Well, if Robert Zemeckis did it, it would be Ringo's story, all told photorealistic, animated style, and somehow Tom Hanks is in there again. So I don't think that.
Back to that. That wouldn't be bad for Ringo's story.
It might make people more interested. I just wonder, is it going to be streaming or in theaters? Because, who's going to be the person? I saw all four in theaters.
I think you have to do it as a streaming, just like with When They See Us. I know that's like a poor example, but the same thing, 4 episodes, but mostly focusing on particular individuals, not just like the entire story across the four.
I'd be like, I feel like Paul would be pissed if Lennon's made more money. He'd be like, damn, even in death, I can't get enough respect. So next we go to the weird case of Roadhouse. It's the remake, which director Doug Liman is boycotting the premiere because he really wanted a theatrical release, even though there was a deal made where they could get an $80 million budget, but it has to go to streaming, or they can have a $65 million budget and it goes theatrical. And everybody agreed on the 80 million. So I don't understand. Did he think last minute the film would be so good that, they're going to, of course, put it as theatrical? I mean, it looks like a theatrical movie. You have Jake Gyllenhaal, you have Conor McGregor in there. I take it as the Terry Funk of the movie, or that guy who used to rape dudes in prison. you know, but also I did not realize that Joel Silver was fired from the film. He was one of the producers who made the original deal, but then after they decided it was streaming, they got rid of him with claims of that he was verbally abusing the crew, which, knowing his history, sounds like it could be true. But I just feel like you get rid of Joel Silver, you're getting rid of the excess, like he's going to bring that ridiculous quality to it. Because, I mean, now Jake Gyllenhaal's character isn't a bar bouncer who studies philosophy. Now he's a former UFC fighter. Look, I'm going to go see it either way. But what are you thinking about all this behind the scenes drama for a 80 million straight to streaming movie?
Well, first off, regarding Joel Silver, I was once warned by somebody from my college, an instructor, that, yeah, Joel Silver is a yeller. So I'm not surprised by that. That's been his reputation for decades. And also, too, the fact that he got fired kind of tells you how much power he's lost in Hollywood, because the last thing he did was that terrible Superfly remake. And he had no hand in the Matrix Resurrections and anything else. So he's not really the powerhouse he once was back in the day with Lethal Weapon and Predator and Die Hard. That's a whole other thing. But with this movie, Roadhouse is not a sacred cow as far as I'm concerned. It's a guilty pleasure. It's entertaining. Patrick Swayze is very good in it, and I love Sam Elliott in the movie. I was always pissed that they killed off his character. But I will say, I know we're going to talk about the trailer for it in a while, but I look at the trailer and I think, okay, this is something I wouldn't mind paying to see as a remake.
Exactly.
I mean, Jake it looks like he sells the part. He does something a little different from Swayze, and it's got Arturo Castro, who I actually worked with on a short film many years ago. So now here he is playing one of the baddies. I don't think he's the Ben Gazzara part, but whatever. Got some heavy hitters in there, including Conor McGregor. So, I mean, I'm kind of torn in the sense that the way it's shot and the way it looks, it should be theatrical. It could do maybe John Wick level business, at least the first 2 John Wick movies. But at the same time, I don't know. I think if you knew what you were getting yourself into, you wouldn't have signed up for it to begin with. You could have just maybe waited till we're going to talk about Tom Cruise later. Maybe wait till he cuts a deal with Warner to do another Edge of Tomorrow, or do something else entirely. If you knew that was what was going to happen, and you're dealing with a studio that's really becoming more streaming based, why would you even sign up for this to begin with?
That's true. Well, my thing is, I just really hope this is decent. And I would have gone to see it in theaters if it had been released theatrically, but I will enjoy watching it at streaming. Um, the next story, interesting enough, is the Tom Cruise story because Brad Pitt is definitely going to be in the movie Critic, but now we're hearing that Tom Cruise might be in the film, but he wouldn't be starring in the movie. He'd be playing like either a supporting or more of a cameo role because supposedly as he's getting older now, he has this new deal with Warner Brothers. He wants to start going back to acting in auteur type movies rather than just all action. I guess because the last time he directed a film, the last time he got nominated for a film is Magnolia with Paul Thomas Anderson, who he desperately wants to work with again. And he's getting older. He's already an icon. He's the king of the box office. That's one of the things he does not have as an Academy Award rightfully earned. And speaking of like with Warner Brothers, the whole thing with the movie Critic is that Quentin Tarantino is making the film, not with his own money, but every studio wants this film, especially if it's his last film. And of course, Sony Pictures Classic has the inside track because they released Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and that was like his second biggest grossing movie ever. And this is what's been whispered, but certain studios aren't willing to sign this kind of demand that he wants, which Ryan Coogler was the first to actually get for his upcoming vampire film with Michael B. Jordan, where, like after X amount of years, probably like 20 years, the film's copyright goes back to the writer director. So then after that, they pretty much own it. So they're thinking Quentin Tarantino wants that, and also you have like Warner Brothers now is just throwing money at because of all the bad press they're getting from Coyote versus Acme, the canceled Batgirl movie, so bad that they're giving that now Joker 2's budget is up to $200 million. And the thinking is that I guess it's not their money, first of all, and if they give filmmakers all these types of deals, that when David Zaslav eventually wants to sell off Warner Brothers, they have all these properties that make the sale even more lucrative, which also shows you David Zaslav has always, first and foremost, been a businessman and doesn't really care about the product that he's putting out, which you could tell just by all the canceled movies and then the movies that he's willing to put through and throw money at. But I know this is a lot of subjects to talk about, but Andre, what is your view on all of this? And
well, with Warner Brothers, I could just sum it up in one sentence. It's a shit show. It is just purely the lawyers and the bankers that are running that studio who simply do not care about their product, who simply do not care about the art. Now, this business has for a long time been driven by commerce. It just is what it is. If you get into Hollywood, you have to treat it as a business as much as you may want the pretty pictures, the imagery, and the messaging, but you still got to sell the film, market the film, still have to get people out to the theater every week and try to make your budget back. This is just pure insanity with everything that you just said. A movie like Joker, where that first one was like a $60 million character piece, is now this $200 million epic, likely down to Joaquin Phoenix's payday, Lady Gaga's payday, and of course the fact that it's going to be like a musical theme. So of course musical set pieces cost money to pull off. The Coyote versus Acme thing makes no sense to me. If you're not going to release it, just sell it off. Just sell it to Netflix, sell it to Amazon, and license it off. Why do we have to cancel this thing, even though they go and say, well, we have other plans for it? Well, what are your plans? Because clearly you're not announcing anything. Just put the damn movie out. You already made it. It's already completed, and it tested well. So I don't get the whole logic of what they think by all of this is going to raise the value of Warner Brothers to sell it off. I think it's going to devalue Warner Brothers more than anything else, and it's pissing off those filmmakers, especially during that whole period when they were doing the day and date release during the pandemic, to not want to work with the studio anymore. Why do you think, Nolan went and did Oppenheimer with Universal? Why do you think Clint Eastwood is considering retirement? It's because of this kind of bullshit for what was once, one of the best studios in Hollywood. When you saw that Warner logo, 9 times out of 10 you were going to get a good quality movie, with some exceptions, and good talent behind the scenes. Especially with the way they've handled DC, I don't have much confidence in them anymore. Now, as far as the Tom Cruise business with Quentin Tarantino, I got a couple things I could say about that. For one, if he is in the Movie Critic, I think maybe he plays a studio executive, maybe like a Robert Evans type, and has to do the Tropic Thunder thing again. Or this would be kind of cool, because there's a rumor they're going to recreate scenes from the movie Rolling Thunder with William Devane and Tommy Lee Jones. Maybe he plays a William Devane part and does like a couple of scenes with the missing hand and all that. I think that would be kind of different to see him do. But
It's gonna be an old ass William Devane.
Well, that's the other part that I'm going to say, which is, and we talked about this when we reviewed the last Mission Impossible movie. Tom Cruise is beginning to look his age. Make no mistake. He can put on all the makeup, cut his hair, grow his hair. They probably have done some things CGI wise to smooth out his wrinkles. But when you see him in pictures, he's starting to look very rubbery, if you've noticed. It's starting to show, like the way Mark Harmon did on the NCIS. And people are just kind of like, I think they're over the gimmick. Yes, Top Gun made $1 billion and quote unquote saved Hollywood. And they thought they were going to get that with Mission Impossible, and that didn't happen. So now it's undergoing a new title and everything else. I would be all in favor of Tom Cruise going back to like Born on the 4th of July, Magnolia type performances, where the guy is a really good actor when you give him a part and a good director to work with. So why not, at this particular point in your career, you're in your 60s now, you're not a kid anymore, you can't keep doing, jumping off cliffs and breaking your back and your ankles. Just do a really good character role that makes everybody remember that's the greatness of Tom Cruise, and then that could get him the Oscar. And just don't slap anybody along the way.
Well, just one note. They did try to sell off Coyote versus Acme, and other streaming services did want it, but David Zaslav wanted $80 million for it.
And that's the problem. You have an incompetent jerk at the head of Warner Brothers.
So, yeah, that's the only reason it wasn't bought by another streaming service. So next story is the Coen brothers are back. They're going to make a film together. It will be a horror film, but Ethan Coen has to direct another film solo or with his partner, Trisha Cook, because he has the upcoming Drive Away Dolls, and now he's directing a movie called Honey Don't with Aubrey Plaza. And then once he's done with that, they're going to, I guess, make this film together. The thing is that there was no like breakup. Like there wasn't like, oh, I can't stand working with my brother. So they're on good terms. They see each other all the time. It was just that Ethan Coen just felt like he wanted to do something a little more challenging, and making films on his own, that's more challenging. Plus, he says he didn't want to do another Western. Since they had made like True Grit, Buster Scruggs. It was like, okay, enough already. Let's write something else. How are you feeling? Are you ready for the Coen brothers comeback? Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's overdue to see the Coen brothers back together on the screen. And I think that going back to horror would be almost maybe a throwback to Blood Simple and some of their earlier work. So, yeah, I don't know how long they're going to keep it up for, but I'm always down for more Coen brothers.
Well, I am too, especially when they're doing something a little bit different than maybe things they've done in the past necessarily. Next, we have your favorite, Tim Burton is making a comeback with another movie after Beetlejuice 2. He's going to direct a remake of Attack of the 50-Foot Woman with Gillian Flynn writing, who wrote Gone Girl, the novel.
Why do I get the feeling he's going to remake this with Sydney Sweeney as the 50-Foot Woman? Because that's the first person that comes to mind when I think of this. That and the Daryl Hannah movie on HBO that I believe Christopher Guest did, which had the weirdest soundtrack.
Well, I've seen the Daryl Hannah version. I've never seen the original. I
Yeah,
just think
neither
it's
have
a
I.
I just feel like this is a very weird thing to remake, but it fits into Tim Burton's wheelhouse because he seems to like to remake or reboot things that he grew up watching, and I guess in his own vision. But you never know; he might cast who he's currently dating, Monica Bellucci, you know, or I mean, if he really wants to make it ironic, cast Jenna Ortega, who's short in real life, and now she's playing this giant woman. And the box office might actually be better with her in the lead role. But like you said, if you want to go with the traditional looking model, Sydney Sweeney would be fine in this role. And
I wonder how political it's going to get to in this environment.
I think it's going to get into gender politics more than anything else. And maybe some dark comedic moments. We'll see, but let me put it this way: this wasn't the most exciting project to hear about. It was like, okay, when you hear the news,
It fits, I mean, why not?
exactly. It's like, I guess it's. Donald Glover says he has control over the Lando television series because he's been giving a lot of interviews talking about creative control over everything, over all these projects, like the Mr. and Mrs. Smith remake that he starred in as a TV series. So I'm excited for it because I love Donald Glover and the stuff he puts out. So I think it'll be interesting. I just want to see what type of direction it's going to go in. And obviously, we're gonna have to wait till it comes out. But how are you feeling about this? As you know, you are a Star Wars aficionado, and
I'm very mixed on it because, again, I think he was definitely one of the bright spots in Solo, playing young Lando Calrissian. But I don't think I really want this show, period. I'm just like, they've been time and again, oh, we got to do the young version of this, we got to do this prequel, that spinoff. And I'm just like, I am done with Star Wars. You have just overexposed the shit out of this so much that I just don't feel like any of these new projects give me no excitement. And then just when it looked like, oh, The Mandalorian was going the right direction, that third season screwed up everything. And it would take a lot for me to really feel like, well, I'm in love with Star Wars all over again, because I've been to the stores, guys. The merchandise ain't selling the way it used to. And I don't think, as talented as Donald Glover is, and he should probably do more things like Atlanta, and I've heard decent things about Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I don't think this is the answer to the woes of Lucasfilm right now.
Hey, if it's like Atlanta in space with some aliens, I'm down. Because at least it'll put a new or different spin on all the Star Wars that we've known. Or maybe they'll stick to, I guess whatever vision whatever vision Star Wars has and Kathleen Kennedy has. I don't know if they have one at this point anymore, really. But we'll be talking more about that a little bit later. And next, we have the King of Pop biofilm coming out, which since One Love, the Bob Marley story, was #1 at the box office. I think, and the movies we previously talked about, I don't think there's going to be a shortage of biofilms of musicians coming out anytime soon, because now One Love has proved they make money. We still have the Amy Winehouse one coming out in May. I'm just like, though it does feel like it's becoming like Marvel movies or superhero movies. It's becoming a little much, because it's not, because these films, the problem is they're not really biofilms. They have a planned narrative from the beginning that's not going to please half the audience members because it's not a full life story. They're not going to tell you every side story. It's like with the James Brown. We're focusing on, the problems he had with his mother, problems he had with women, but the main thing was his relationship with his best friend, Bobby Blue, and that was the narrative. But with this King of Pop, I mean, we don't know yet. All we're going to talk about here is the casting, where we have Jermaine's son, Jafar, playing Michael. We have Miles Teller playing his lawyer. And we have Coleman Domingo playing Joe Jackson. If there was ever perfect casting for a movie, that is it. Because I'm like, I need somebody to play an angry black man who's going to come off as the villain. Coleman Domingo. Oscar nominee Coleman Domingo now. and Nia Long as Catherine Jackson, which it works, but I don't think I've ever been so attracted to Catherine Jackson as I will be watching this movie with Nia Long. So, what are your thoughts on this project? And
Oh, I've got lots of thoughts. Because they're leaking pictures out now of Jafar, and I feel like it's not doing enough justice, other than the official picture of him from the Dangerous tour, where they showed him from the side, and seeing it side by side, like, oh my god, he looks like Michael, and he does. And I mean, they used one of his official photographers for that picture, which was pretty amazing. But then when you see like the raw behind the scenes, like they had the thing with Tower Records when Off the Wall came out, and they have the picture of him walking with his mother. It's almost as if, and this is where I start to get into my shit with the media. It feels like they almost want to destroy this movie before it comes out by trying to like show him in very unflattering angles to make it seem like he doesn't look like Michael. And I'm just taking the stance of, well, we still have to see how this actually looks on film. And we don't know the way Antoine Fuqua is shooting this yet. I think right now the casting is pretty spot on, and I've seen Jafar sing, and I think he's incredible, and I think he will definitely do his uncle justice. And I love the choice of Colin Domingo. I was taken aback by Nia Long, I will be honest, but then once I saw like the photos of her, then it's like, okay, I can buy it, especially now she's a little bit more older, a little more seasoned. I think she can deliver. And I had the feeling Miles Teller was going to play John Branca, the lawyer who currently runs the Michael Jackson estate. And there's some controversy with that among Jackson fans because they don't feel like he wasn't as instrumental in his life the way that maybe some people try to say that he was in terms of the music videos and, certain things he was instrumental along with his career. So that's what we've gotten so far. I'm still very curious because they haven't released a whole cast list yet, because I guess maybe certain people might be spoilers depending on where the story's going to go. Like, are we going to get Quincy Jones? Are we going to get Lisa Marie Presley and Elizabeth Taylor? Because there's so many people in his life that we could go crazy on all the celebrities and the named people and so forth. But I probably would be interested if those big stars were playing people that you don't ever hear about in his life, like his bodyguards, his like the people who work behind the scenes on the soundtracks and the albums that he worked on, and maybe even the dance choreographer Michael Peters could be depicted in some way. So I want to see more of the inner workings of what made the genius. And you can still get to the personal things, the controversies, but it's got to be about not the glitz and glamour and the music videos and what we know him as, but what was going on when the cameras were not on him. Because that, I think, is where the real story's at.
Well, I already have some stunt casting for this movie already. Paul Walter Hauser as Marlon Brando. Terrence Howard as Quincy Jones.
Nah, he doesn't have the. I was thinking about that, but no. Maybe Barry Gordy though.
I just feel like Terrence Howard has that weird energy for Quincy, like where it's like you're kind of a little unpredictable, And
you mentioned Paul Walter Hauser. He actually could play Frank DeLeo. Remember the heavy set manager he had during the bad era? He was in Wayne's World. Yeah, I think he could play that, or just an Italian guy to do it.
Well, I'm like the rest of the world. I'm probably going to go see this no matter how it looks. Yeah. As long as Antoine Fuqua doesn't pull out an action sequence in the middle of the movie for no reason. Like, I don't know what that has to do with his life, but okay, I'll accept it.
Oh, he's going to recreate the Smooth Criminal video.
And for some odd reason, Denzel Washington's Equalizer is going to be in it for no reason at all.
He might be thrown in there. You never know.
Exactly. I mean, if you were going to put Denzel, might as well make him Joe. But, this is Antoine Fuqua's baby. So he just goes with who he decides. He's like, Denzel, you're old. I'm going with Coleman. So I don't know. Next, we have Jurassic World. Originally, when I was writing this story down, it was that David Leitch dropped out, but now, just yesterday, Gareth Edwards has signed up to direct the Jurassic World. It's an interesting choice. It's in his wheelhouse, especially coming off The Creator, which, got such good reviews, not the greatest box office, but good reviews. My only problem with this is, do we really care about Jurassic Park movies still? Like, is this really a viable franchise? Can't we just be happy with what we got? Because I'm like,
Yeah,
really? Other than little kids, who this movie will not be made for, who's really sitting there like, yeah, I need to watch more dinosaurs attack people on screen?
yeah. I just, he sounded pretty excited to do it, so I'll give him that. Like, if it's a dream project of his, and given his past credits with the first Godzilla movie he made, he's definitely worthwhile to do the job. So I have no qualms with that. But I'm with you with the whole Jurassic Park thing. Is just, what else can you really do? Because Jurassic World was a really good concept to see the park actually get open, come to life, and then see everything go completely wrong. But by the time you got to Fallen Kingdom, we started getting to Fast and Furious territory. Like, now we got action scenes with humans fighting other humans and riding around dinosaurs and so forth. Like, it got silly. And then the last one was like, let's get the old cast and the new cast together, and we'll shoehorn in some black lady so we could have some diversity in this movie, rather than bringing back Ian Malcolm's daughter from the second one as an adult. And I thought that was a huge letdown. I wasn't crazy about that one at all. I mean, what else do you do? Okay, so now the dinosaurs live among the humans like they're pets, like they just run around Washington, D.C. like everybody else. The only thing I could think you could do is there was a toy line back in the 80s called Dino Riders.
Oh,
why not adapt that? Humans, it's like Planet Apes. They're in the future. They're riding on dinosaurs, they're shooting laser beams, and it's totally up Steven Spielberg's wheelhouse. And Gareth Edwards could pull that off. It would be like the combination of Jurassic Park and Star Wars. There you go. You made another $2 billion.
Look, I'm going to be honest. I haven't liked the Jurassic Park movie since the first one. So, and I love the first one. So I'm just like, anytime there's a sequel after 2, anytime there was a mention of a sequel, it's like, why? Because at this point, these movies, since they keep making so many of them, this feels like a lost season of Westworld at this point. It's like, really, we're still doing humans versus dinosaurs, and like you were saying, now it's humans versus humans with dinosaurs. So it's just like, just let it go, man. Or make a $300 million series like House of Dragons and try to make it dramatic and Shakespearean somehow.
What do you think is the possibility they combine this with the Fast and the Furious franchise, and the next movie has Vin Diesel in it?
I wouldn't put it past, but I feel like this is going to be something that's planned, like that Men in Black and 21 Jump Street crossover that never happened, thank God. It's going to be like that, where it's like, it'll be 5 minutes from being made, and then they'll pull the plug because somebody will have sobered up and realized, what the hell are we doing? I hope, or even Steven Spielberg will be like, no.
Yes, cocaine's still a thing in Hollywood.
Well, of course, that's what I said. Hopefully, somebody will sober up before the deal is finalized. And I'd be like, but it'll be weird. Somehow they'll get like Kate Blanchett to be the villain, and the movie will get greenlit. So I'm hoping it doesn't happen. And I mean, Jurassic World. Hopefully, this will be the last. Maybe that'll be Jurassic World finale. Next story, we have J.C. Shandor is remaking Francis Ford Coppola's classic movie, The Conversation, into a television series. Considering this, and like now they're talking about Amadeus being made into a TV series, it's like, so is this what we're doing now? Like how they were remaking hit films for Broadway shows. Now they're just remaking movies and like, let's make it over 13 episodes.
Well, we had that Fatal Attraction series, and that didn't do so hot. So honestly, I don't expect anything different here.
I think if you're gonna make this interesting, first of all, you're already, by making it a series, you're taking away the mystery element of the conversation and the conspiracy about who he can trust. B, is season 2 going to be Enemy of the State, the unofficial sequel to the conversation? And it's only going to work is this is when one of those times where you got to beg like a respected actor to be willing to do streaming as a series. That's the only way it's going to work. Because like you said, Fatal Attraction, I'm sorry. I like Joshua Jackson, but Pacey from Dawson's Creek does not fill Michael Douglas's shoes, you know? And Lizzie Kaplan, so beautiful.
Oh God.
You know, she's not Glenn Close, which is a good thing, but acting wise is not. You know, Glenn Close made that character her own. I'm like, if you're gonna make the conversation into a series, like, can you get Adrian Lynn to sex it up? You know, that be his finale, so we can forget about that Ben Affleck, Ana de Mars that he made. Like Adrian Lynn should really just get into television, just like create a television show, do one season, and then retire. Because I just can't accept him going out like that with that movie.
I think he needs to do another thriller, but with Little Rel in it.
No, no, because no one wants to see Little Rel unless you're going to spin off his character from that movie to do a movie.
It could be a sequel to A Decent Proposal. He's the Woody Harrelson part.
Oh, why he got to be Woody? He can't be a rich man, old man like Robert Redford. That's insulting. It's like you can make like somebody like you got to put somebody like the rich dude has to be like he's suave but not the sexiest, and then the Woody Harrelson has to be like the built up dude. Like you're gonna leave the man meat for the money. You know, like I don't know. I'm trying to think like Channing Tatum or Little Rel. You know, yeah. Hey, it's not that big a budget.
But then the audience would be like, well, why would a girl leave Channing Tatum to sleep with an old guy?
She wants a guy who reads books. I don't know. So.
That's the problem with women today in America. They don't like men who read books.
No, not they don't want guys who like watch book reviews that give you the whole plot on YouTube. They want to see you actually read the book. They like know certain lines from what you read and know what you read. Next we have Denis Villeneuve. I think that's how you say his name. Is still not sure if he wants to do Dune Messiah as his next film or a totally different project because obviously these Dune films take very long to make. So he doesn't know if he maybe wants to take a break and do something maybe a little simpler or if he wants to just like while we're doing it, streamline, make the next one. I know nothing about the Dune books, so I don't know what happens in the next book. I can tell you I will probably see Dune 2, but I will probably see it on streaming. I'm sorry. I liked the first Dune film, but I didn't love the first Dune film. You know, like it was good enough to be watchable, but I couldn't say I loved it, you know?
I like the Dune, and I like that this one's getting some solid reviews. So I think, he deserves a little bit of a break. Let's see how this one does. And I'm sure he'll do fine. And, you just give him some time in between, let the audience kind of breathe until the third one. And then he could go into it 100%, just like Nolan did with The Dark Knight, even though the third one was not as good, but still it was a tolerable movie. It still did all right. Yeah, give the guy a break. Just do one more, do like something different, and then come back to it when you're ready. And then maybe like Timothy Chalamet and company could be a little bit older. Because I've never read the books myself, so I don't know how far into the future the Messiah takes place after this second chapter. Yeah, give it some time.
Well, I mean, let's face it. Well, I love Zendaya, but really the only reason I would even see this film is Christopher Walken making his return to the screen, and that's about it. So, look, Zendaya's gonna be all right, whether I see it or not. Okay, so next we have Matthew Vaughn, who I guess apparently just wanted to go on a commentary parade because first he's letting us know that he is planning on rebooting Kick Ass, but he's not going to direct it himself. And he also wanted to question, the new DC because he's wondering why you're already casting the lead for Supergirl when you don't even have a director set, because the director should be the one who's, making the casting decisions in the first place. But I think, if anything, this is showing a perfect example of how the studio is more making this movie and just needs to put a button name in the seat to be the one who's officially in charge. So if anything goes wrong, they can push everything onto him. So somewhere they need to find Josh Trank, who directed the last Fantastic Four film, so they could do it like that and be like, "Hey, we tried. He's the one who messed up, not us."
Yeah, with the Kick-Ass reboot, I don't know how I really care for it. I mean, I like the first one a lot. I saw it with our old friend Michael Foltz, and I enjoyed it tremendously. The sequel wasn't so good, but I don't really care for another one, especially the way that he's talking. Like at one point, I think he said it may not be a full reboot, but he wouldn't direct it anyway. It just nothing makes sense to me. You just leave Kick-Ass alone. As far as the comments about Supergirl and how the directors should be handling it, I'm kind of with him with that.
I
I'm
agree.
starting to see similar patterns with what we had in the last DC regime, where they had all these characters already cast before any directors were attached to their solo movies. And while it may have worked for Wonder Woman, didn't work so well for the Flash. Half and half of Aquaman, and the overall direction just didn't play. It's just we're kind of like doing the same shit all over again, and I think that's going to still be a problem for them in the long run, because right now it just seems like, well, we're restarting the whole thing, but we're still keeping certain things from the last regime, like Peacemaker and Amanda Waller. And I'm already lost and confused with what James Gunn is doing, because, like I said, he's always contradicting himself on social media. And yeah, it's just maybe they don't have a good handle with the whole thing. And you can talk about Marvel's issues, but Warner's just does not have their shit together with DC. That's until we actually see some real results. It's like only the Batman and Joker have been their biggest hits, and they're not connected to anything.
Well, unfortunately, that's how the cookie is crumbling currently. But I'm going to try to do a few more news stories because after that, it's pretty much all superhero news and sci-fi films. So next, we have Helen Mirren claims that Olivia Colman was almost in Barbie so that they could play clashing dames, fighting each other in the film. I think that would have worked, and it also would have made it very feminine, even more feminine oriented by throwing that in. Because if you've seen The Crown, she played, the Queen Elizabeth, more younger version, and then Ellen Mirren played Queen Elizabeth, and I think she won the Oscar for that role, playing the Queen. So that would have been interesting. But another interesting tidbit is that Ben Affleck almost had a cameo in the film as one of the dueling Kens. I feel like if he would have been in there, that scene would have just been like Anchorman 2 level with the fighting Anchorman. It would have been cute. It sounds like a good idea. But if it had been in the film, I think it might have been a little too distracting. And
Yeah, I think that with both ideas, it just would have been like, I imagine Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach were like throwing everything into the kitchen sink and thinking, "Oh, would this be cool? Would that be cool?" Because remember, they even talked about maybe getting Stallone in there to play like an old ass Ken, which would have been cool to see. But then, again, with any of those kind of movies, when you start overstuffing it with cameos, this person, that person, it gets distracting. I think what they had here in terms of the concept, the overall story was fine. And you didn't need to have those extra things, which I guess they were smart enough not to go with. But yeah, it's nothing I would have missed. It could have been fun to see, Olivia Colman and Helen Mirren go at it, but it wasn't needed.
Well, I feel like it would have been more Wayne's World 2 instead of Wayne's World.
Yeah.
So that'll be my final vote for that. But
I once knew a girl who lived on Gordon Street.
well, hey, if you could have somehow put that roadie character in the movie, it would have totally worked. After plans, obviously, of the Madam Web franchise being scrapped, Sydney Sweeney is trying to hook herself into a new franchise by hinting that there might be a sequel to the surprise, I guess, minor hit, Anyone But You.
Is there enough people out there who want a sequel to that particular picture?
I mean, I think if it works well and it doesn't feel like, I mean, most romantic comedies, I feel like you're fine with just the first film. Any sequel is just gonna seem like a money grab because, like, now what are they up to? It's sort of like My Best Friend, My Big Fat Greek Wedding. It's like, first film is fine. Did we really need these two sequels? You know? And so soon? I'm like, Sydney Sweeney, you're like the toast of Hollywood. You don't need a franchise yet. Like, just feel around, literally, for something.
It's like trying to do those sequels to The Best Man, and they get all tragic with each one. It's like, no, let's just stick with the one when everybody was happy and alive.
Oh, see, I actually like The Best Man sequels, though. But at least they waited. It was like, what? Life's tough. That's what these movies show. It doesn't always end happily ever after. And I feel like the series basically just gives you what you wanted from the first Best Man. You wanted Nia Long and Taye Diggs together. It might have taken 20 years and children, but they finally are. You wanted Terrence Howard and Melissa D'Souza to get together. Here they are in this dysfunctional marriage. I mean, what's his name just got tough. Harold Pernew. His character got tough. So, sorry, spoilers if no one has seen the Best Man series. The next story, I'm just going to tell you all the stories are going to be superhero related after this point until we get to the trailers. So, if you want to skip ahead, go for it. But let's get into it. Okay. So we finally have the Fantastic Four casting that I think everybody knew 2 months ago. Really. We have Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards. Vanessa Hot Ass Kirby as the Invisible Woman. I'm like, so you're going to cast a beautiful woman to be invisible? Okay. You have Joseph Quinn making the comeback as Johnny Storm. And you have Evan Moss Bacharach as Ben Grimm the Third. I don't hate the casting, so it's okay. These weren't like any dream. Like, I wouldn't sit there and be like, yeah, and then you put Pedro Pascal, right? But who matches him? This isn't my dream casting, but it's okay. What are you feeling about this casting?
Well, I'm definitely okay with Kirby, Bacharach, and Quinn. I think they're all pretty much dead on with their parts. Obviously, I'm very split with Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic, like a lot of other people, because it seems like, oh, the DEI, they got woke. But then when I kind of step back and I think about it, you got to remember, too, they tried to get this to Adam Driver. They thought about Matt Smith from Doctor Who. They tried to get at least a white actor to play Reed, and nobody wanted to do it. So Pedro's in house with Disney with The Mandalorian. It's, I think he'll be fine. I think once you get past that point, and then you got to remember, this is kind of better than what we got with Josh Trank's movie with the race swap Johnny Storm and that weird explanation about how Sue Storm was his adopted sister, and they could not explain it during the press tour. So you got to remember, this could have been a lot worse. and this is the best that they're going to do. There's other things to be excited about. We're getting the Herbie robot that I remember from the cartoon from the 70s, and it's set in the 60s. You know, it's going to go back to that era when they were first conceived by Stan Lee. So I like that aspect of it. And my understanding is Doctor Doom is definitely not going to be the main villain, but he'll probably be like more in the background with the story, based on rumors I've heard. Hopefully they get somebody good, and I'm hearing, don't quote me on this, it could be a possible former Superman actor playing Doctor Doom.
Brandon Ruth finally got a job.
Well, you thought I was going to say Tom Welling?
Hey, either or. I'm like, they're working again. All right, now they get the top table at the Comic-Con now. Yeah, Doctor Doom.
Well, admittedly,
no.
Brandon Routh does need a bone thrown at him. He needs some help. He's a good man.
Why? Because he's Canadian.
Bryan Singer gave him a raw deal.
Not as raw as he gave his victims.
That kind of raw deal.
Let's see. And Tom Welling, unfortunately, he associated with a known cult member, so maybe that's what took him out of the running.
Yeah, Disney's not big on that.
I don't know why. Hollywood's a cult in of itself. And next, we are Marvel is already planning Midnight Suns movie. That's the supernatural super team that has Blade, Moon Knight, characters from was it Werewolf by Night, which is why the movie is being developed by the director of that movie, of that short film, Michael Giacchino. And it's, I mean, we'll probably have Man-Thing definitely in it, but it also opened a Doctor Strange and Ghost Rider. But with Moon Knight, you have like Mahershala Ali, and now you could have Oscar Isaac both in this film, even though they could probably be in a really good indie film instead of this movie. But hey, they got to eat too. So, do you know about Midnight Suns as a comic book?
Yeah, I'm a little aware of Midnight Suns because it's all, again, the supernatural characters in Marvel. I think the Punisher was also part of them at one point. So there's
was Morbius?
I want to say yes, but I can't really remember if he was part of it or not. But I mean, okay. I would love if they had ever gotten Morbius right to see him and Blade together. I thought that would have been a natural fit. But yeah, I mean, if they could do it correctly, they kind of set it up at the end of Eternals with the Black Knight and the Ebony Blade. I don't know when Kit Harington's going to come back to that because he's not sure when they're going to call him again to do a Marvel movie. But definitely, if they get Blade decent at this point, because we know it's been all over with directors and writers, keep it R-rated. I think that's one thing they should do. And the whole thing is, it's going to be basically, from what I heard, no Avenger characters in it. So you may not see Doctor Strange as part of the group.
Oh, okay. And
probably Blade would be the leader if they do it in the MCU, which is fine. I rather see like that section of the MCU get played out with characters that haven't interacted with the Avengers yet, and then you make a big event thing with Secret Wars.
Well, I feel like with all these like Marvel movies, since they're already still planning all these little side things, I feel like each phase is like a season of television. Whereas like, oh, I liked season 3, but season 4 was kind of weak. It really looked like they didn't know where they were going. It's like, I guess it would be basically for the fans of Lost, the TV series. It's like, yo, season 3 was the bomb, but what the fuck was season 4?
I compare the MCU more with Saved by the Bell than New Class. You know, you had the original series where you had the 6 characters, everybody gravitated to them. You know, the girls had a crush on Zach, the guys had a crush on Kelly. But then once they graduated and left off to the college years, and they still kept the show going with all these knockoff teenagers with their personalities, it was like, revolving door of people because nobody could get that magic back in the bottle. And that's basically the MCU right now. They don't have the magic of the original Avenger lineup. So they're still trying to figure out who's the audience really into. And they think it was Miss Marvel, but it wasn't Miss Marvel. They thought it was Captain Marvel, and it's not. And Black Panther's dead. And there's the right sequence with Spider-Man. And it's like, well, who's going to lead the Avengers in the next movie?
Yeah, thinking about it, I guess Anthony Mackie will lead them to
That's the problem, because this movie's being reshot from scratch, and nobody's really a big fan of Sam Wilson as Captain America like that.
Well, you ain't getting Chris Evans back, people, so accept it.
Well, if he comes back, it'll be a one-off, just like Downey.
Yeah. Next, we have Nicolas Cage is in serious talks to star in Spider-Man Noir, the live-action movie, after Amazon Studios fired the writers' room of Silk's Spider Society series. Silk is the character Cindy Moon, who is basically the female Spider-Man. She got bit by the exact same spider that bit Peter Parker all these years later. But they are keeping the showrunner of the series, I guess, around maybe for this Spider-Man Noir, because maybe she has an overall deal. So, or maybe this is her like Hail Mary page, like, don't fire me. What about if I make a Spider-Man Noir film? And they're like, interesting. Can we get Cage? Cage is like, how much money do I still owe on taxes? Okay. Wait, I don't have to like jump around or anything. No, we have stuntmen for that. I'm in. And he gets to finally pay a comic book character live. So.
Yeah, Sony, they've been making some missteps lately that make you say, well, they should send the rights back to Marvel, particularly with Madam Web, which we'll talk about later. But at the same time, with the animated Spider-Verse movies, it's like, okay, well, they're doing a great job on that, and Venom has done pretty well, and gives them the incentive not to get rid of the rights. I'll say one thing, though, with that idea, especially since Cage already did the voice in Into the Spider-Verse, I don't want to see this. I'm not going to lie. I think if he's doing it, and obviously it's a different take in a different universe, I would be okay with seeing this. It's just like don't even do sequels to it. Just do the one movie. I think that's as much as you go. Like, you don't want to suddenly confuse the audience more than you have. I would actually pay money to see a Spider-Man Noir with Nicolas Cage.
I'd more want to see like an animated film of this more than a live action.
Yeah, I'd be for animated as well. Yeah.
Okay. Our next story was one you brought up to me, that Linda Hamilton says she is absolutely not ever playing Sarah Connor again. I mean, at this point, first of all, the Terminator franchise should like kind of be put down for right now. And I mean, she's getting older. She can't like get into that shape again. She's not Arnold, not still at the gym 24/7. So if anything, she should cameo on Fubar, his television series. That I'd be more interested in seeing than her playing Sarah Connor. Like, because as I said, I didn't hate the last Terminator film, but it was also like, why is this being made? It was entertaining for what it was, but that could have, for me, that is fine being the last film in the series, at least until 20 years from now when they decide to reboot it or something.
Well, yeah, her comments are very valid in two ways. One is the fact that she and Arnold have completely aged out with the whole Terminator thing and should not be doing it any more than they have. And the other thing is that we've seen all these post-T2 sequels that have not been good. So a lot of it's because James Cameron's not involved. And then the other part of it is just everybody has a different idea of, this is going to be the start of a new trilogy, and it doesn't work. The logical step was honestly what they did with Salvation, set it in the future war and seeing how that plays out in 2 hours. The problem with that movie was it wasn't totally focused on John Connor, and it didn't look anything like that nightmare future that you saw in the first Terminator movie, in all the Kyle Reese flashbacks. And the issue I have is right now, on one hand, Cameron's already talking about writing another movie once AI gets more advanced. And I'm just like, okay, you got to stop this shit, Jim. Just, stick with Avatar and then retire, because it seems like that's all you got going on these days, and make your money. There's also supposed to be an animated series on Netflix soon, and it is an anime, and I believe it's set in the future. So, I mean, again, I've always said, if you're going to go back to Terminator at any time, set in the future, don't spend a lot of money on it, make it look close to those future war scenes from the first one, and I think that's a roundabout way. You don't need to bring back Arnold, you don't need to bring back Linda Hamilton. Lord knows you're not going to get back Edward Furlong these days. And
I think he'd be willing to come back.
Yeah, but you got to make sure you get him a good trainer, and make sure he's he's doing well. Let's just put it this way. I've seen
clean.
He's gotten his act together. So I got to give him kudos for that. But we just need a different direction that isn't, oh, this is going to be starting a new trilogy and we're going to bring back Arnold. No, that's over. Arnold is doing his thing now as an influencer. You don't need to have Arnold in this anymore. Terminator could survive without him.
I say give it to Nolan.
And it could survive without Linda Hamilton.
Yeah, definitely. It survived quite a few times without Linda Hamilton.
And I don't think that's happening.
Okay. So with that, I don't know if you've heard about this, but one of the co-directors of Spider-Man Across the Universe pitched James Gunn, of all people, a Batman Beyond film, but an animated one. And there is some artwork out there of when they were going to make a Batman Beyond animated film that didn't get out there. Have you heard of this? And
I've heard of it. I've seen the artwork. And again, Warner Bros. Is a shit show, because the fact that they did not make this movie tells you just how incompetent they are.
Well, I just feel like they don't know the fandom. Like you said, it's a business to them. It's bankers and entrepreneurs. It's not real, like, people who are actually fans of any of this stuff, or else they'd understand, like, if you make this, you will make money, or because it will have a built-in audience. But if you're making, Joker 2, and it's like, that means the whole world will have to love this film to make back the money. It was easy when it was a little $60 million. Go ahead.
I watched Batman Beyond when it first came out on Kids WB, and I loved the shit out of it. And I think that if you had done that instead of The Flash, having Michael Keaton play the older Bruce Wayne, and then you get, maybe not Timothy Chalamet, but somebody young to play Parliament McGinnis, that would have been your way to continue the franchise without having to do the Brave and the Bold and all that other stuff. It's like, again, you guys just want to keep going back to the same well over and over and telling the same freaking story. Give us something new. We don't have to keep doing the Bruce Wayne story all the time, guys.
But that's their bread and butter, is remaking his story over and over and over again. Now just with emo music. So, next we have, I'll wait till the end to get into Disney's movies and its dates. So I'll go with a different take. We're going to look at writers of superhero movies, because Eric Eason, writer of Black Widow, Thor Ragnarok, is rewriting the Fantastic Four screenplay. And
basically, I think they just want to tighten it up before the shoot starts. Same thing with Thunderbolts. They want to make sure. You know what? I'll even put you like this. I feel like these guys are joke writers that are being brought in to punch up the jokes, and that's not a good sign for Marvel either. If you're hiring guys who do comedy, get guys who write comic books.
Well, Black Widow wasn't exactly a lav riot. This guy wrote that. So I could see if you were just basing it on, oh, he wrote Thor Ragnarok, but it's like he wrote Black Widow. Other than, her father character, it was pretty tight. It stuck to the landing.
At this point, Marvel might as well just hire writers from the Chappelle Show.
There weren't that many. No, there's no. WB is saving that for the Static Shock movie. I'm sure.
That's in development.
It is, and I'm hoping they don't turn it into a jokey affair, where it's like, he controls static, and then we're gonna go against the Ashmaster.
Well, they do Blue Beetle, so don't be surprised.
Hey, but you know what? Blue Beetle was decent, at least. I'll give it that.
Batman's a fascist, so they're going to add more of that in there.
Look, I just want, if you're going to make a Batman movie, put my man Condiment King as one of the villains, at least one. Even if he's just a minor villain he takes out in the opening scene. That's all I ask.
Frank's Suplex. Come on. Get the comedic villains in there.
No, they want to keep making it dark. Good. Now, that was my next story. Is that Joanna Carlo, co-showrunner, producer, writer of The Bear, is working on the Thunderbolts script. But I mean, let's face it, Thunderbolts it seems like Marvel's answer to really a Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
So, of course, that's going to probably be a little more jokey, but like more violent jokey. But I mean, come on, you have a way better cast, even though you had Stephen Yeun and Ayo Edebiri drop out, which is shocking. You'd think Ayo Edebiri would have stayed, considering the show she's on. The co-showrunner is now writing the screenplay, and instead now, I mean, we still have Florence Pugh, Wyatt Russell in the movie, so we still, and Julia Louis-Dreyfus as their Amanda Waller. So, hey, she's a good actress. Comedic and dramatic.
It's still the idea of Elaine from Seinfeld in a Marvel movie. It's like, why would we just get Michael Richards to play Mephisto?
Well, if you want a Mephisto who tells off-color jokes, go for it. It's,
Either that or the leader of the remember in the X-Men cartoon, like all the group that hated all the mutants, and they were kind of like the KKK.
Hey, I say, why not? Why is it always Kramer or Julia Louis-Dreyfus? Can't Jason Alexander get a job? Come on.
Listen, Jason Alexander could play a villain too. Remember Pretty Woman? Now,
yes, the date rapist. But I feel like they're gonna give him stupid roles, like, oh, we want you to play Mole Man. It's like, really?
He's good for Mole Man. I'm not gonna lie.
No, come on, give the man, just because he's short and balding.
Well, you know who's actually lobbying to play Mole Man, right?
Paul Giamatti?
He would be good, but David Krumholtz wants to play Mole Man because they wouldn't let him play Thing.
Well, look, I have no problem with David Krumholtz. I've been a fan since Life with Mikey. Addams Family Values, and now he's like a Twitter phenomenon, telling all his stories there. So I have no problem with David Krumholtz as Mole Man. So what, would Jason Alexander be relegated to Mole Man's dad, who like gets killed a la Aquaman with Black Mantis?
Maybe, but I'll just say, David, if you're watching, come on the show.
Oh, I would love to have David Krumholtz on the show. Oh, so many questions other than Life with Mikey. We
might values, dude. We got some conversations there.
Oh, we have conversations there. Slums of Beverly Hills. The Judd Apatow movies he was in. That unmade Woody Allen movie that he was supposed to star in before Woody Allen was canceled, people. Back before. So, so many questions. But if by some miracle you're watching, please come on the show. We would love to interview you. Now we go on to Doom, which is the Disney announcements of dates and movie sequels. So first, Should I just go through the list, or do you want to do it project by project?
Go for the list.
Okay, we have Moana 2 that no one knew they were making. That will be out in November of 2024. We have, hold on to your hats, folks, Zootopia 2. I know all of you were waiting for that. November 26th of next year. Aliens Romulus, which is coming out. No release date yet. We have Frozen 3. Yes, because the story wasn't told enough and wanted to. Coming out November 26th. Oh, they like Black Friday. It's of 2026. Toy Story 5, which will come out 6/19/2026. The film or the series you talked about, Mandalorian Grogu, which is coming out December 18th, 2026, replacing Daisy Ridley's Star Wars movie. You have Snow White, starring a show favorite, Rachel Ziegler, which is coming out in March of next year, even though they've already filmed it. And of course, the Avatar movies that James Cameron is spending his retirement years making. We have Part 3, which will come out December 19th of next year. Part 4, which will be coming out December 21st, 2029. Hopefully he's alive to see it. Because they're all been filmed already. And Avatar 5, which comes out December 19th, 2031. I'll make the date. That will be when I'm finally dating Jennifer Love Hewitt. So, that's the first half of dates. What do you have to say about any of these projects?
I want Disney to go back to the days when they used to make the ice pops and when they used to have the Disney afternoon with DuckTales and Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers and Tailspin and Darkwing Duck and the Gummy Bears. What the hell is this? This is just more sequels to movies that don't need sequels, Avatar sequels that don't need to be made, and probably will make less money as they go along because, we had to wait, 10, 12 years for the second one. But now with the shorter gaps in time, they're not going to be as exciting, no matter how much the technology improves. And it's another Toy Story. Why? Like it was so emotional with 3, then it got really emotional with 4. You might as well destroy all the toys in 5 and just call it a day. Like, Disney needs to stop spending so much money on movies that people don't need and just try to find some original content again.
Well, I think it's because their original content isn't making the money that these films made back in the day. I mean, you had people criticizing when they tried to make a Turning Red, when Turning Red came out, which I thought was very good, and then you had, what was it, Luca? The one, the Italian film, or no, it was Spanish. I mean, it's no, what was the one we don't talk about? What's his name?
We don't talk about Bruno. Not Luca, right? No, oh my God, I'm going to get a lot of shit for this now.
Yeah, that film is, which for some odd reason I want to say Enchanted, but I know that's not the title.
No,
but, that movie was the last real moneymaker. And then this last film they made, Wish, got such bad reviews that people were wondering, did AI write it? Because it was just so bad and basic. I didn't see it.
What Disney needs to do? A live-action DuckTales movie, just like they did the Lion King.
So what, are you going with Howard the Duck technology, like a bunch of little people in duck suits running around the city?
Like, they could be CGI ducks.
No, stop with the special effects. Look, if I'd rather make DuckTales human and then just make it DuckTales.
Oh God, no, that would be disturbing.
Hey, I have no problem with that. Or even better, just make Darkwing Duck. Make an animated movie like you did with the Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers. Like, do projects like that. That is what I'd rather see than useless sequels to movies. Yeah, they'll make money, but they won't be any good. And well, Disney doesn't
Yeah, I
care
mean,
anymore.
they learned their lesson in the '90s when they were like doing those straight-to-video sequels to The Lion King and Aladdin, and
That's what Toy Story 2 was supposed to be.
yeah, Bob Iger's going to lose his job in 3 years. You just watch.
Well, unless these make the money that they think they're going to make. And then we have the Marvel list of release dates now, where we have Captain America, Brand New World, comes out Valentine's Day of next year. Well, now guys finally have a film that drag their girlfriends and wives to. Is Thunderbolts. First of all, I thought they said they were going to do movies a lot less, but half of these movies are coming out in 2025. So you have Thunderbolts, which comes out 7/25/25. Then you have Fantastic Four, which is coming out 5/05/25. Then, of course, the Black movie Blade. They're like, hold off to 2026. And then Avengers Kang Dynasty, no more, because they got rid of the Kang Dynasty part, so they can figure out which villain do we like sub in, or unfortunately, do we put John David Washington as Kang as a replacement? And you don't have to have any more Coretta Scott King references for Kang without the Avengers being gone. But that's supposed to come out 5/01/2026. And then the next year, you have what they've been building, all this multiverses and everything, Avengers Secret Wars, which I hope is the Beyonder one. So, and is that when they're going to bring Tom Holland back as Spider-Man so he can get the black suit? But those are the dates of all of the Marvel movies that they have planned thus far. After, I guess, television series totally separate. That seems to be the only place where they're really limiting, how much they're doing with projects. But everything else, they're like, nah, 2025, that's when we make our comeback with 4 movies.
Yeah, basically what's happening here is they're trying to decrease their output, put the quality over the quantity again. And they think that by slowing down the output of the movies and the shows, it will not only improve the quality of the movie, of the whole MCU, it'll get things back on track, and then also put more focus on characters that are more guaranteed to sell. So, yes, the train's already left the station with Captain America and Thunderbolts, but by doing this new Deadpool movie, by having, possibly Midnight Suns, among other potential things, like obviously we'll get the X-Men soon. We have Fantastic Four coming up. They want to go with the characters that are guaranteed box office. They don't want to keep taking risks on C-list or D-list level characters that nobody's heard of that are harder to sell. Like we saw with the Eternals, you kind of saw with Shang-Chi. The audience didn't come out in those big numbers. And there's a lot of reasons for that. It's just quite simply they want to get back to the magic of what made the Infinity Saga work. The only issue right now is, again, you don't have your heavy hitters like Chris Evans as Captain America. You don't have Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. And they're hoping they could rectify all this if they make better movies and figure out what the hell they're going to do with Spider-Man, and then get to Secret Wars, and hopefully they'll be home free from the whole multiverse saga, which has just been a complete mess for them. I think they just want to get out of it, move on to what I would assume would be the mutant saga, and then that will put them back on track, because then you have all the X-Men characters to build on.
Oh, man. And that is all the news we have. So you know what that means, folks. It's time for at least my favorite part of the show, where we talk about trailers. And again, we have quite the list this week. Where should we start? Should we start with the minor or the big stuff? Okay. We have the trailer for Longlegs, a horror movie with Makia Monroe and Nicolas Cage. Though strangely enough, the trailer doesn't show any visuals of Nicolas Cage, but they credit him. And this film seems like it's going to be something that has to do with hell, as we see the book, The Nine Circles of Hell, and see a lot of imagery. I mean, the film looks great, even though you don't know what the heck is going on. And I mean, I'm willing to give it a chance because, good visuals and Cage somehow being involved here. This could be, a sleeper hit, for him. Are you looking forward to seeing this long legs?
Um, it looks scary. I feel like I want to see more from it, and the fact that Cage is in it is what really piqued my interest. So it's like I'm not totally sold on it yet, but I'm interested.
Okay. I would talk about it more, but we know nothing about it, other than basically the teaser trailers that they've put out. Next, we have, I guess, what is aiming to be this year's Megan, of course, because why not? It was a hit. Imaginary, about imaginary friends that are, I guess, possessing like teddy bears. So, oh, here I am, a wolf in sheep's clothing until I turn murderous. And I mean, by the end of the trailer, it's PG-13, and I can already tell this is going to be more of a scare fest, jump scare fest, more than an actual, like violent horror film. It's going to be like a Five Nights at Freddy's, it seems like, where it's like, ooh, I'm going to scare you to death, but violence, what's that? I hate to say it, I don't really have any interest in seeing this movie, even though Megan ended up being a guilty pleasure, but Megan at least had a stupid dance in the trailer where it was like, I don't know, this is looking entertaining. This is going full blown horror. And it just doesn't, it looks like a horror movie made for younger teenager audience rather than for like a true horror aficionado who's older. What are you thinking about the Imaginary trailer or the Imaginary film trailer?
I look at it and I feel like it's counter programming to that John Krasinski movie with the imaginary friends. Like this is like the evil version of it.
Oh, okay. I know the movie you're talking about.
Yeah, and it just we've already kind of done this thing with Annabelle with the evil doll, in this case an evil stuffed animal, and it's just like, as soon as you tell me it's PG-13, it's like, okay, this already turns me off. We already had Megan, which I thought was very clever with that idea, and again, Five Nights at Freddy's was kind of a letdown given, based on a pretty popular video game, but not violent. It just was, and not even that scary either. It was just more like, well, scare factor, but not enough to be gory. And I just think this is going to be more of the same with that. So yeah, I'm not looking forward to this one.
Okay. Next, we have Regina King making her comeback on the big screen, or at least I think it's the big screen. It might be a Netflix movie, where she plays Shirley Chisholm, the first Black female to run for president. And you know what? I'm here for it. This is probably going to be like Rustin with Coleman Domingo. This is probably more awards bait film, but I'm liking the trailer, and I guess the fact that even though Shirley Chisholm knew she couldn't win, she wanted to show people that it was possible if it was something that you wanted. And that message behind the film, I'm all for. And by the end, it does tell me that was who I thought it was. Yes, Terrence Howard is in this movie. I don't know as who, but I will definitely check this movie out. And I'm kind of excited because, Regina King, it's been a while since she's been on the big screen. She had some personal things happen in her life where, she was away from the big screen. But I'm happy to see her making a comeback and as a lead, not a supporting, So I'm very excited for this movie. How are you feeling about it?
I didn't see the entire trailer, but what I will say is I think she's a great choice for Shirley Chisholm. I have seen a documentary about Shirley's life and her run for president. And so it's a story that definitely needs to be told. And I think they got a great actress for it. So I'm definitely looking forward to this one.
Okay. Next, we have the movie we talked so thoroughly about earlier, the Roadhouse trailer, where you have, oh, and let's face it, the biggest star is Jake Gyllenhaal in this, unless you're a really big Conor McGregor fan, and he's not playing Conor McGregor, even though Jake Gyllenhaal's character is a UFC fighter. So it's like, is this some weird, strange meta? Was he the extra money we needed for this movie so we could guarantee to get him in there? You have the love interest, of course. I don't know who exactly is playing the Ben Gazzara main villain role. Do you remember?
I have no idea.
They should have got the guy from Walking Tall with the blonde hair. That's who should have
Oh,
played.
Neil McDonough, yeah.
Yeah, I would have been like, how are you not going to put him in it? And like you said, Arturo Smith playing the henchman, I think he's supposed to be the fat guy from the original, really the only one who lives, because he seems to be getting all the one-liners and cracking. And no offense to, but Arturo's is kind of small, so it's kind of shocking that he's playing like a thug in this movie. So
yeah, that was the thing that kind of like put me off. Was he's more of a comedic actor to me from the other things I've seen him do. So seeing him here, all scrawny against a very buffed up Jake Gyllenhaal just was like kind of weird to me. I thought maybe it was just like the one scene and that was it, but apparently he's in this whole thing, which is shocking.
yeah. That's what I said. I think he's the heavyset dude who gets clobbered by a stuffed bear. So I just want to know, is it going to have like kind of that ending where, Patrick Swayze goes all Hulk Hogan and is just so mad. He's just fighting, killing everybody. No, his philosophical thing has gone out the window. They killed Sam Elliott. Yeah, they took Kelly Lynch, but they killed Sam. And is
that's
Kelly
the thing
Lynch?
too. Who's playing the Sam Elliott part here?
I don't know. They should have found somebody charismatic who's like an action star. This is where you get. Well, Keanu's not going to do it, but it would have been an interesting choice.
Well, who would have been out of the box choice would have been Nick Offerman.
Yeah, even I'd be like, okay, does he like bear hug everybody?
Like Mike Hagar from the game Final Fight. I could see him play that, get him in shape.
Or I don't know if he's young enough. You could have Rob Lowe make his action debut. Well, Jonathan Skagey is too old now to play that role.
Yeah, that's they did that straight to video where they said that the Patrick Swayze's character had been killed.
So you set him up as Jake's Sam Elliott. See, we turn it into a whole circle. It comes around. What? Hey, everybody wants a universe build. Now you already have a straight to home video prequel. Boom.
Maybe the original Roadhouse should have been a universe build with Next of Kin. They felt like the same kind of movie.
No, I still say if you want a universe, they handed Faster with The Rock a whole spin-off character, the assassin who works for $1. That was a perfect straight-to-home video character. But no one wanted to listen to that. I guess The Rock wouldn't be able to produce it, so they were like, yeah, we don't want to do it. The next trailer we have is Late Night with the Devil. Which Stephen King is already praising, about some doomed 1970s talk show or variety show where everything starts going crazy, and it looks like it's kind of like not exactly found footage, but like a lost television program. But continuously through this trailer, I kept feeling like this feels like a VHS type horror film, one of the anthologies, sort of stretched into like 90 minutes to 2 hours. That's what I'm interested in it. And it has that actor, David, whose last name is so long and I can never say.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy who was in for those watching it, the guy who was in Ant-Man, the first movie, and was in Oppenheimer as the crybaby, who wrote the angry letter about Oppenheimer. He stars as the talk show host, and it's primarily a horror film. It looks like a bunch of people get possessed. I have interest. I'll admit the David King blurb did help. But Stephen King did sit here and was like, you know what? I think you're going to like this new movie that's made from one of my books. It's called Tommy Knockers, where cats are the heroes against these cat-looking creatures that suck the souls out of everybody. Yes, no, I was not on cocaine when I wrote this. It's
So I look at this trailer and I was actually interested in it. I love that whole like 1970s television show look and how scary it already appears to be. And definitely like those little flashes here and there to kind of build on the suspense. It's one of those movies that I want to see it,
okay.
but I'm also afraid it's a film that can get easily overhyped, especially I'm not just from the Stephen King comment, but the way that they present it, like it's going to be the next big thing in horror, and it kind of falls short of that expectation. So when I do see it, my expectations are going to be pretty level on it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm hoping it's going to be something good. I mean, like I said, if it starts getting good reviews, it's something that I would go see in theaters. But if it's like
you said, like if it's a movie that where it would work better as a short, but if it's like a 2-hour gimmick, that's where it's going to be problematic.
Exactly. Our next trailer we're going to talk about is one I find very interesting, Femme, which is about a man who works as a drag queen and is obviously gay, and he gets gay bashed at a bar after, I guess, embarrassing a guy in front of his friends, and he seeks revenge. And it seems like the guy who he's hunting, who gay bashed him, is in the closet gay himself. So it's a thriller, mystery, or maybe they really are attracted to each other, and this is a kind of an S&M type of bondage relationship. Either way, it seems very inventive, and I'm willing to, check it out, especially as somebody who was a fan of Misfits. So seeing one of the actors from that show playing the lead role here, I'm like, oh, I want to see this because it's like a different type of character and shows his range. What did you think of the Femme trailer, man?
Well, it's not my thing, but I did think that the story in itself, the way it was presented, was interesting, and I loved the whole like gritty look that it had. So those were things that I was kind of attracted to. But I don't know. I'm half and half.
Well, I mean, to me, it sort of looks like one of those films that was probably originally a play, but then they like opened it up to make it more of a film. But I mean, I'm still there. And I mean, it comes out in March, so it's not that far away, luckily. Next, we're dealing with a little bit of the more bigger movies here. Knuckles, a spinoff of Sonic the Hedgehog, voiced by Idris Elba. I'll admit I haven't seen any of the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. Sorry, I love the video game, but I haven't seen the movies. And I guess the most interesting thing about the trailer is that they use the old hip hop song "Knuck If You Buck" as his kind of theme music, where he's trying to teach, I guess, a human to be tougher and not to be so afraid. Look, I didn't see the other movie, so I'm probably not going to see this in theaters. Maybe one day, like with all the Toy Story films, I'll just sit down and watch them all so I can finally see what's all this hubbub about, and so I can just binge them. I take it you have seen the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. So what are you thinking about, seeing the trailer for this movie?
Well, I like the first two Sonic movies, and I really did like Idris Elba doing the voice of Knuckles. I don't know if I would want to see a whole thing with him, especially if there's no Dr. Robotnik, and it seems like it's going into this completely different direction where he's looking for trouble, he's looking for action, and
He's Billy Jack.
I mean, it could be fun, but it doesn't really pique my interest enough to want to see it.
Okay, fair enough. I can't really say anything because, like I said, I haven't seen any of the previous movies. But, it looks cute. I'm sure if I had kids, I'd be forced to go see it either way.
Yeah.
Next, we have, this isn't a movie. This is actually for television. Finally, X-Men 97 is coming out. That lost season, I'm looking forward to this. I like the animated series when it first came out. So I'll admit I didn't see every episode or go season by season, but I'm excited about this because this feels like at least it's somewhat a step in the right direction for Disney. So I'm happy for this. Andre, how do you feel about it?
Well, I am very excited for it because I was a huge fan of the cartoon as a kid, collected the toys, watched every episode when it hit. And, I love that it still has the aesthetic of the original cartoon. And even a lot of the same voices, at least the surviving actors, are all reprising their parts. And there's a few characters they had to recast for nationality reasons or because they wanted certain types of tones and voices. That's just the way Disney operates these days, unfortunately. The only thing that bothers me about it, and I think I'll get used to it as I watch the series, just the original cartoon, the animation felt very smooth in the movements.
Okay.
And here, everything looks more scattered and almost like it was shot at a different frame rate and feels more like an anime than, that traditional animated style from that period. Now, obviously, it's a different animation company, so that's one reason it looks different. Hopefully, that won't deter me from enjoying the show, because as long as it still has a lot of the same voices, continues the story, I think it'll be fine. There are already people that are getting on, heads in the clouds already because, it's going to be woke, it's going to be this and that. Well, guys, X-Men's based on so much of what was going on in civil rights, back in the 60s. And so they were already, even in that original cartoon, they were already tackling those themes in their way based on what was in the comic books. So just continuing that route, as long as they're not hammering you over the head with it. And I think it's going to be okay. So I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Okay. Well, as am I. And now we get to our final three. The three biggies, they might say. We have A Quiet Place Day One, a prequel to A Quiet Place, obviously, 1 and 2. This one stars Lupita Nyong'o and, spoiler alert, and Demon Hansu, who perished in A Quiet Place Part 2. So we see the origin of his character. So I take it by the end, we're going to see them set up that island of peace that they had where, where Cillian Murphy was. Because he ain't in this. Instead, they're like, oh, you want a British guy? We're bringing you Joseph Quinn as a business guy. I don't know how all of these tie together, but we will see when this movie comes out, which has plenty of action and neighborhood, world destroying. So it should be a hit. And Lupita Nyong'o gets another hit movie under her belt. Maybe we'll finally get her and Rihanna doing that movie where they play jewel thieves. I don't know. We'll see. But how did you feel after seeing the trailer for Day One, A Quiet Place?
Hard pass for me. I don't have any interest. I don't really have any interest in how all these creatures came about and started attacking everybody. It's just, you already did the sequel, and I guess I'm just more invested in where that's going to go after that. I don't think I really need to see the beginning.
Well, I want to see this. I don't know if I'll go see theaters because I haven't seen any of the Quiet Place movies in theaters, but I'm at least excited about it. I'm like, if they're going to have a franchise movie, I don't mind this being it, just stick to the main principles, the whole thing being damn near quiet throughout. And I'm happy. And next we have, based on the video games, Borderlands or Guardians of the Galaxy 4 is what it looks like, with Kate Blanchett, Kevin Hart, Ariana Greenblatt, who was in Barbie in those Bad Mom movies, Jack Black voicing a robot. I'm like, is that all you do? Voices now, dude? Um, I think that's it. Oh, and Oliver, I can't think of his name as the villain. You know,
Oliver Martinez.
yes, Oliver Martinez as the villain. Yeah. Oh, it's directed by Eli Roth, whose movie we will talk about in the review section. But I'm like, oh, and the reshoots were done by Tim Miller because Eli Roth had gone off to film Thanksgiving. This is it's not a hard pass as much as you were with The Quiet Place, but it's something definitely I'm waiting for on streaming. I'm not going to see. Keep in mind, I'm not a video game person. I never played the video game, but it's speaking the language of Twisted Metal, the television series. Didn't play it, don't understand it, no, very little interest. The only reason I'm interested in this movie is Cate Blanchett, who I figure signed up because she liked working with Eli Roth on that kids horror movie with Jack Black also. So I figured that's why they're both in this movie. But I'm just like, Kevin Hart is literally everywhere now, even in this movie. So I'm just like, okay. So like I said, it's a hard pass. I'm glad Ariana Greenblatt is getting a career. So her and Jenna Ortega from that Disney Channel show, yo, they moving up in the world. So I'm like, go girls. Now if only you guys could get Serena Vincent a job, you know. So who played their mother on that show, for those wondering the reference. But Andre, how are you feeling about this trailer?
I know of the game. I've never played it. And to me, it looks like a Mad Max ripoff with, like you said, it has the feel of Twisted Metal, the series. I'm waiting for it on streaming. I really am not.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. But also, for our final trailer is the one people have been waiting to hear us review. That's right. Deadpool and Wolverine. The trailer finally dropped at the Super Bowl. And I'm just going to say, it pretty much seems like what you expected from all these news and lead up to this movie. We didn't expect him to be mentioned in the title, and he's not shown as much in the trailer, but it seems like with all sequels or a Federico Fellini film, we're seeing all the characters from all the previous films come together here. And, you know, now Deadpool's on a multi-universe thing. I like the inside jokes as usual, talking about Disney and, you know, talking about, what is it? Pegging, you know, first time ever in a Disney movie that it's been mentioned. Look, we all know I was going to see this. I was coming back, and they even brought back Rob Delaney from the second film. So why not? I mean, I'm good. I'm hoping it has a lot of Disney skewering jokes for the inside track, but I'm there. And just to see Hugh Jackman and all the painful training he had to go through to get back into Wolverine shape, you know, I have to support that. So it makes it worth it. How did you feel about the trailer?
Same as you. I was excited, and it confirmed a number of different rumors we heard about regarding certain characters that were going to show up and the TVA's involvement in the story. We even got a glimpse of Aaron Stanford coming back as Pyro, so that's pretty much a hint of more of the X-Men characters from the Fox movies coming back. And I like that they didn't show too much. They kept it pretty minimal to slowly build up to what I think will be a pretty epic Deadpool movie, and one that I do hope kind of rips Marvel a little asshole, because they kind of need it right now. If this is going to be the movie that gets them back in the right direction after the abominations they had last year outside of Guardians Volume 3.
I'm just happy that I guess TJ Miller will have a job for another movie, and Ryan Reynolds finally made a good film again. You know, other than, you know, these Netflix movies that he keeps making. So I'm looking forward to it.
If you like this review, please be sure to like and hit subscribe to be alerted to new episodes in the future.